I'm Emily Hickey. I'm the co-founder of InstantAdCopy.com. We're a marketplace that connects businesses with Facebook marketers of various types. I also do growth consulting, like Michelle said, for big retailers, but also for growth stage startups to help them get their Facebook revenue cranking. Since 2012, when Facebook launched their newsfeed ad product, I've been basically working exclusively on Facebook. So if you remember one thing about me, just know I'm totally obsessed with Facebook. I think it's the best, really the most powerful performance marketing engine in the world, and I think it will be for a while. I don't think, it won't after some, decade or something, but for now it is. And I think the same way that we talk about 2012, 13, 14 as being like, if we had known then how cheaply we were acquiring people on Facebook, we would have plowed so much more money into that platform. And I think now it could actually be the same. We could look back in a few years and be like, oh my God, I wish I had spent so much more money on Facebook, because it gets more saturated, the competition gets higher, the costs get higher. So if you haven't gotten it cranking on your company, I think now is still a really good time to do it. These are the 5 things I would do. We're going to talk about creative first. If you spent 95% of your time just optimizing creative, that'd probably be a really good use of your time. When you get the creative right, everything else almost doesn't matter. And when we work on accounts, this is the first thing that we're starting with, and it's where we spend the most time. It's usually where you're opening up the problems or the opportunities with account. It comes down to the creative. This image is one of the most successful images we've ever used across accounts, companies, campaigns, products of all time. This helped us acquire about 1 million signups for an app. And I bet nobody here can guess what on earth that product was that we were advertising with this image. I will give you $100 if you can guess what this product was. So this is kind of the point. The job of the image is to stop traffic. It is not necessarily to convey something about your product. So as another example, the blueberry image on the left is one that they were using. It's pretty representative of what they were doing before we started working together. And you will never get the economics to work on that blueberry ad. It just isn't going to work because that thing doesn't make people stop, right? Whereas this one on the right, we, like it or not, we do use attractive females staring into the camera a lot. Whether you like that fact or not, people, men and women, do tend to stop. And then they click through, and then we get these comments like, LOL, what did that image have to do with the product? But they still stopped and clicked, so we don't really care. They don't even remember what image it was. So it's just, this is an extreme example. But the point is, when you are working on Facebook, you need to be really adventuresome, and you probably need to go off brand, even if it's just for a second, to figure out the range of what works. Then you can kind of understand what works and come back on brand. These weird images, that feel sort of like, it's not like you're doing some weird, goofy thing, but this just feels sort of intimate, and there's just something about that image that makes people stop. This was a health and fitness app where we paid you to do healthy things, so it really had nothing to do with the app. But again, that cut, we took acquisition costs from double digits down to under $1 for this, and it was still their second highest source of engaged users. So it wasn't just sort of spray and pray junky acquisition, it was real users for them. Copy is sort of the same. You have to get really adventuresome and test like crazy. One thing I'll say about images, if you're an e-commerce company, you're still testing images like crazy. You might not do one of those, but your product image that you use will give you massively different results. So we go on Google Images, we go on Pinterest, we go on Instagram. We're trying to find user-generated images of a product that might do better than the actual official product shots. So with e-com, you're going through this iterative process of figuring out what's the right product, because we all know that in e-com, the winners win. A hit product could generate hundreds of thousands of dollars a month, whereas the others all together won't do that. So we roll through assortments and new arrivals collections really systematically to figure out what's the best product on Facebook, and then we roll through images and combinations of images for that product to figure out how best to represent that product. And doing that will swing your results by hundreds of a percent. It really, really matters. Same with copy. We write copy like we're talking to our friends. The fact is Facebook is a platform of people talking to their friends. If you write like a marketing person, it's not going to work. So the one on the left, for example, this is what the app does, earn real rewards for healthy activities. But I would never say, hey, this app is awesome. You earn real rewards for healthy activities. You should totally download it. You would never say that. And we actually do that exercise a lot. We say our copy out loud, and we act like we're trying to convince a friend to download the app or buy the product. And usually what rolls off your tongue is often what you should write in the ad. So our example is get paid to be healthy. It's much more straightforward. It's colloquial. It's clear. Hey, you're already tracking steps. Now you can get paid for it. It's a much more effective way of describing the value prop than using marketing language like, earn rewards with the health and fitness apps you love. Again, you would never say that language, so you shouldn't write it in the ad. We'll test like 100 headlines. You have to test like crazy. There's no such thing as a right opinion when you're on Facebook. You have to test like crazy. And again, you have to go off brand. You're not writing like a brand at this point. The next thing is your technical playbook. This is a control panel for a nuclear submarine. And Facebook is not this complicated. That's the good news. You don't have to be a nuclear physicist to use Facebook. It's more like being an auto mechanic. There's a finite number of things that you have to get right. And honestly, if you get your creative and your product right, this stuff doesn't even really have to be right. The things that we focus on, like if you're going to focus on this, would be these. Like one, where are you going to put the ad? Is it going to, does your brand work best in the Facebook newsfeed? Does it work best on Instagram, right-hand column ads? Audience network. In most cases, it's the Facebook newsfeed. If you have to set something to a default, go Facebook newsfeed. Instagram can be really powerful, but it's a smaller platform. I don't think we've seen a single brand where Instagram has been better or more scalable than Facebook. You're usually, if you have to pick one and you don't want to deal with this, just go Facebook newsfeed. The next thing is your ad type. So we like multi-product carousel ads. We also like single product ads. Slideshows where you cobble a bunch of images together and it's just kind of rolling through can work really well. Videos in some cases, obviously with Greg's company, those are killing it. Page, even photo page posts that you boost. Like, it's really different for each brand and it's different for each product. So you actually have to have the energy to test ad types with each product. So we do that. And then your optimization, how you're bidding. We usually are bidding OCPM and we're with add to cart and purchase. So it's essentially telling Facebook, go get me the cheapest price for somebody to add to cart or go get me the cheapest price for somebody to purchase. And we kind of test both of those things. So I don't think you have to mess around a lot with a lot of different bidding types. I think one of those two is probably going to be your best. And then this isn't technically a feature on Facebook, but your landing page, we find often really gets neglected in e-commerce because you're typically driving to a PDP or a product page or to a collection page, and people are like, all right, whatever, the product page is what it is. But actually, if you take the winning copy from the ad and put it on that product page or the collection page, even though that seems weird, you're reinforcing what brought them there in the first place, right? If you use the weird images that you use in the ad, in the product page carousel, that can really help too. You don't just want to put them onto a page that has nothing to do with what brought them there. So things like your shipping threshold to drive AOV, countdown timers, all that kind of stuff, the color of the button, all of that really does matter. So I'd really encourage you not to just let the ad do the work. It partners with the landing page, and you've got to work on the landing page. One thing about the tech specs before we move on is you do have to retest them periodically. Sometimes one thing works, and then a month later something totally different is working. So you do have to kind of retest them. Next is audiences. This is a picture of the Facebook Insights panel, which I'm sure everybody knows. Facebook's really smart. They know a lot about us in terms of what we do on Facebook, but they buy a lot of other data. They know if we just bought a house, if we just had a kid. They know a lot about you. So we tend to use their native tools a lot because we think we're not going to outsmart Facebook. We obsess over audiences. We're constantly testing them. I think everybody knows that lookalikes are the best. You'll rarely beat a lookalike audience with something that you sort of manually cobble together with your own brain. But even within that, you can still be very adventuresome within the lookalikes. So for example, if you're giving Facebook email files to cut lookalikes off of, we try tons of different cuts. So okay, here's everybody who's bought something over $200. Here's our highest ELV customers. Here are our most active customers. Here's our whole subscriber list. We try a bunch of different things, and then we go all the way out to the 10% accuracy radius. So I think a lot of people just stick to 1% or 2%. We do Russian doll testing to test 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10%. And sometimes you'll find that 8%, for whatever reason, does better than the 2%, or the 6% is your good one. So we go ahead and test all the radiuses out to 10% to figure out which ones work. And then we do use Facebook's tools to cut manual lookalikes. So we might cut a competitor brand bucket. But we'll often use, we use Facebook suggestions. So when you're typing in the interests, what Facebook is suggesting usually is probably a good suggestion. We use interest layers like young mom, high-end retail shopper. We use all that stuff to kind of, and we experiment a lot with using layers on top of other audiences. So just one rule of thumb, obviously you don't want to fatigue your best audiences. They're not going to last forever, so keep an eye on your frequency caps. Our rule of thumb, there are a lot of them. Ours is that we'll spend up to $700 for every million people in the audience. So if it's a 2 million person audience, we might spend $1,400 a day on them, but not more than that, right? You just have to keep an eye on it, right? So and you have to turn them off at some point, let them go dark, rotate, don't fatigue your audiences. Whoever's used dynamic product ads recognizes these silly things. This is probably one of the most powerful things that Facebook has built. in recent days, and we find that a lot of people aren't using these. So it's effectively, the easiest way to think of it, it's sort of Facebook's version of dynamic retargeting. So in addition to kind of pixeling Facebook, you set up a slightly more advanced pixel so that it knows, okay, it's not like that person just added to cart, they actually added this product to the cart, right? Or they purchased this product. So you can then go back and retarget them with that product, or you can say, retarget them with a series of like our best sellers in that category. So if they added a dress to the cart, go retarget them with these 10 dresses because they're our best sellers or because they're high margin or whatever it is. Or we use these for prospecting. So again, to find your hit products, let's take our entire new arrivals assortment, put it into a product set, and then just go hit cold acquisition. You know, spend $100 a day rotating through these products to tell us what the best one is. Then we'll take like the best 3 of those and just gear down on those and try to figure out the images and the copy and everything else that's going to make those really sell. So we use this a lot, really powerful. It's a small tech hurdle to get over. I'd really encourage you to duke it out with your tech team to get it done, because it's not, once they sit down and do it, it's not a big deal, but for some reason, this can be a real hurdle. Okay. Lastly, I think one of the current frontiers of Facebook, and anytime there's a frontier on Facebook, you want to try to exploit it, because often when they're taking a beta and they're trying to make it work, they create windows of opportunity, like these little arbitrage opportunities where you can get something for free until they're going to monetize it. And we think that that's what's happening with Messenger right now. So they've got over 1 billion people using Messenger. It has critical mass on the user side, but they haven't monetized it yet. Their stated goal with it is to make Messenger the next email platform. So obviously between us, you know, consumers using it, but also brands talking to their consumers, whether it's customer support or promotion. So this is our website. This is instantadcopy.com. We've officially switched out. This is our exit pop. So we no longer are capturing emails on this. We're capturing Messenger opt-ins, which is a pretty bold move, right? Because emails are really valuable. But we can do this. This is, you know, we use our companies as labs and experiments. So we've switched out this. We're now capturing the permissioned Messenger people on Facebook. This was a recent send that we did, so you can see the difference between emailing these guys on email versus on Messenger. So email, we have about 7,500 emails on this. We had a 15% open rate. Messenger, we have 1,500 people opted in, and we had an 85% open rate on the message, which is pretty inconceivable. And click-through, we had 1.5 on the email, 2.4 on the Messenger. We had 21 replies to the email, most of which were auto-replies or please unsubscribe me off your stupid list. And the other, you know, the Messenger had 89. It was amazing. My partner and I were watching these things come through in real time, and it was unbelievable. People typing, like, hey, I was always curious about that product. Can you explain it a little bit more? Like actual people responding to this. So on a revenue basis, the 7,500 emails produced under $700. The 1,500 opt-ins produced over $3,000. In my experience working with companies, I've never seen that kind of ratio of revenue to a file size. So it's pretty amazing. So what is happening with Messenger? Again, is you have this huge captured audience, and if you use Messenger, most people have it set so that you get a text message when you get a message, right? So you're going right through to their phone. They don't have them turned off yet. It's a total blue sky channel. There's no competition. No other retailers doing this. So I think it's just effectively, you know, it's the effect of having mind share, right? So the big caveat here is anytime Facebook is doing something new, they're changing the rules a lot. So even now, they're changing the rules a lot around like promotional activity and what's allowed. They obviously don't want people to get overwhelmed with retailers and then just shut Messenger off, right? So they're gonna tiptoe into it. So were I a big retailer, would I switch your Lightbox out to Messenger opt-ins? No. But I would be experimenting with this on customer support and getting, because when people message you, you're also getting permission to message them back. So I would experiment with using it for customer support and then start doing small batch sends of offers and things like that, and just see how it does. So it's a frontier, but it's an intriguing one. I do recommend digging into it. One quick word on attribution. We go through this a lot with clients, and this is something we've been dealing with, you know, really since we started working on Facebook, like everybody is, right? Facebook is never going to agree with Google Analytics, Mixpanel, Kissmetrics. They're never going to look the same. And there are a lot of reasons for that. You know, even like we've talked to the people at these other platforms extensively, and they're always like, you know what, Facebook's just going to do a better job attributing. You should actually look at their numbers. Part of the reason is cross-platform. So we're all logged in on on mobile, on our phones and desktops, at work, at home, everywhere you are, you're logged into Facebook. So Facebook knows who you are, but other platforms don't know that. And if you look at Facebook's cross-device report, they'll actually show you the number of people who clicked on an ad from a mobile phone and then purchased later on desktop, and it's a huge amount of people. So that's part of the reason these will never align, is that cross-platform changes. Another reason is that Facebook ads don't attribute the organic activity off the ad, and we've done a lot to measure this in terms of the traffic that will result when you're optimizing off of engagement versus conversion. And there is so much sort of dark matter traffic coming off of your Facebook ads to your site, and that doesn't get credited back to the ad. The only thing that gets credited to the ad is the activity that was actually paid for. So we paid to reach that person, not their friend. So when that person liked the post or shared it, and their friend saw that, clicked, and bought something, the friend never gets attributed, just the person that you paid for, right? So those are two big areas that we've tried to measure that don't get attributed to Facebook ads. And then, of course, you have your view-throughs, which a lot of platforms, they can't pick up. But we've turned Facebook on and off across various brands. We personally run 2 businesses that are 100% driven by Facebook. So we see the halo. We actually think Facebook under-attributes by about 50%. So I think it's a goose chase to try to get Facebook to align to your other attribution platforms. You can do whatever you want, but the thing is, if you don't fully attribute Facebook and believe its numbers, you're going to underspend on the channel. And as I said before, I think it's still an opportunity. I think we're in a cost advantage acquiring customers on Facebook, so I think it's a big mistake to underspend right now. So you can do whatever you want with attribution. We take full 28-day click and view. And then lastly, parting thought would be to ignore best practices. I think we, belong to all these mastermind groups and webinars and blah, blah, blah. Everyone's got their kind of pat rule of thumb of like, this should work, this is what you should do. But we test things across so many different brands, and I can tell you that nothing universally works across brands, and even within a brand, it doesn't work across time and across products. So there's one best practice on Facebook, and I think this is a reason that we've been able to be successful on it in some cases where others haven't, is because of testing, right? I think that's the only best practice on Facebook, is that be incredibly energetic and creative and weird about your testing, because that's how you're going to figure out what works and like where your real blowout opportunities are. That's it. Good luck on your Facebooking. I hope that you can get revenues cranking if you haven't already. I think these 5 things really can help.
Who has a question for Emily? Emily, I have a question. Do I have to pay Facebook? Because I feel like if I don't pay them, they ignore me. I have 250,000 people and they don't see anything if I don't pay it. That's truth or rumor?
Truth. Yeah, you can't reach those 250,000 people.
Zuckerberg is evil.
I was just curious if you have an opinion on Facebook lift tests. Are they worth doing, valuable, like what your experiences have been?
Yeah, we do think those are worth doing in cases where you can actually pull that off. We've tried doing that with a couple clients and sort of struggled to get everything set up. But yeah, I mean, that's what Facebook would recommend you do, right? So what he's referring to is like if you take some subset of your traffic and show them Facebook ads or your email file or whatever and measure the revenue that comes off them versus the portion of your traffic or ads that you're not advertising to. And that's what Facebook recommends you do to sort of when you're tackling attribution issues. So, yeah.
Okay, next question.
So on the ad copy front, how do you reconcile what's working with brand positioning, communication, copy, campaigns?
Yeah. It's really hard, actually. Like, so what we do small spends to test a ton of things. Like I said, we'll literally test 100 headlines. We'll test all these random images we don't have permission to use. We will test, we don't care. It's just these little $10 tests, and we try to get in and out of them quickly enough that it doesn't hurt anybody or, no one in the brand. We often use the phrase, can you give us cover for 4 weeks? Then we're gonna show you what works and you guys can figure out internally where you want to be according to that. But actually that Blueberry ad was their attempt to pull one of our ads on brand. That wasn't what they were actually originally way back when doing. And it still didn't work, So I think you have to take what's working and then try to step away from it a few steps and bring it back on brand and see if you can get close to the results. But then you ultimately just have to make a decision like, do we want 10 times better ad results or do we want to stay on brand? And I can appreciate the difficulty of that debate.
Clickbait works? Is that what we're saying?
Yeah, we don't really do clickbait. But I think that's gotten we might be past that, but hooks work and talking colloquial works. You know, like it's not on brand, but it's not inappropriate. You know.
All right, last question.
It's probably a dumb question. I maybe came in late. I missed this part, but where you mentioned of people to opt in to the messenger.
Yep.
I've never been asked to opt into a company's message. Where do you do that? How do you do that? What do you recommend?
We use an app. Jeff, what's the name of that app? MiniChat. Okay. We use an app to do that. It's called MiniChat. But you also, like when someone answers a customer support email, are they automatically opting in for Messenger? Or like a customer support, if they reach out to you on Messenger, yeah, if they initiate it, they're opted in, right? So if you can drive people to use your Messenger channel for customer support, you're effectively opting them in. So, yeah.
Okay, everybody give Emily a hand.
Thank you, guys.